I want you to think about the word royalty. What comes into your head when you think about that word? A palace, crown, a horse and carriage, an army. All of those things are wrapped up with what we think about when we think about kings and royalty and all that kind of stuff. But our royals are really nice to look at, but they don't hold very much power or power to me. But kings of the ancient world, they were the head of the army, they were the lawmakers, they were the judges, they did everything that was required of them when they were in charge of the country or their kingdom. A king who listens to God and does as God says would have made laws and decisions for the good of the people that he was ruling over. However, a bad king would be a disaster. We all know our kings and queens aren't perfect. They make the wrong choices sometimes, and they weren't perfect through the Bible either. If we think back to when we looked at Isaiah chapter 1 and Isaiah chapter 5, there were some pretty messy things going on. The poor and the weak were oppressed. However, when you got a king that would listen to God and make laws off the back of that, they would make good decisions for all the people that they ruled over. Think about King Solomon. Think about how wise and good he was as a king over the people, because he constantly sought out what God wanted from him as a king. So if the king was the head of the army, it was his responsibility to fight to protect God's people, versus a king who only wants to make himself rich and famous. I'm going to show a quick video now about the spread of the Mongol kingdom throughout most of the Eastern world. You can see how much land they take over, but they weren't doing this to show how good God was. They were doing this to show how strong they were. They wanted to do all of this out of their own strength to show that they could, and it was a ruthless campaign, and millions of people were slaughtered. When a king cares about God's honour and people, what you get are fair laws that are wisely enforced, and they're able to defeat God's enemies without trying to glorify themselves. And that's where God is different. Isaiah 9 will teach us about a child who will be born, and that child would be God himself. He will end war and bring prosperity to all those who follow him. We've seen a lot of King Ahaz as we've gone through Isaiah so far. He has not really been a good king, but today we're going to learn about one who is coming later.